This is Hospitality Huddles, brought to you by Ardent Hospitality, the podcast that challenges hoteliers to think differently about F&B to create outlets that guests will love. Every episode, we will speak to the people who are embracing a different mindset to look for opportunities to stand out from the crowd, sharing tips and takeaways to help you get uncomfortable, change your outlook, and see F&B in a whole new way. So let's not wait any longer and dive straight into today's episode. Welcome to today's show, and I'm really excited to have Michael French on the show. And we're talking about something that is definitely going to become much more prominent in the industry as we go through 2025 and beyond, and that's robotics. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining us. I'm really excited to get into something that I've been curious about, but never really met the right person. I know we've got the right person on the show today.
Thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure to join you. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. So let's kick it off so people understand about you, your background, the fact that you grew up in hospitality, so you know how automation can help the operators. Over to you. Share everything about you.
Happy to do it. I know it'll be hard for you or any of the viewers to believe, but I've been in the hospitality business for over 50 years and kind of worked my way up. So I'm very familiar with all the different roles from dishwasher all the way up to executive. So I spent about 25 years of my life specifically in the hotel industry, and hotel GM in Orlando, in LA, in Dallas, worked at corporate level. So I've been a hotel guy for 25 years. My final hotel GM job was the Anatole in Dallas, which is a phenomenal operation. After that, I got into casino gaming, and I've been the senior vice president of operations at Caesar's Palace, at Venetian, Open Venetian. Went to Asia, spent about 10 years in Macau and Philippines, opening primarily big new integrated resorts and operating them. So all that time, it's all about hospitality. Even casino gaming is really about hospitality. With casinos, 95% of their profit comes from gaming, but 95% of the customer attitude about the property comes from non-gaming, because every casino is the same. They have the same game, same rules. So it's about how non-gaming services them. So long time in hospitality, let's say. During COVID, I was in Macau, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And a window came open to get out. But then if you went out, you couldn't come back in. So I finally got a window to go. And I came back to the States and said, okay, well, I'd rather try to do another business at home instead of jumping back into a property again. And I wanted to get back into hotels, and I was looking at the hotel business and trying to understand what the issues were and how things might have changed. And I kept running into the problem everywhere through the internet that labor was a big deal. They couldn't get enough people to work, and the costs were going up all over the place. And the labor they could get was very undependable, seriously high turnover. Within that context, I also saw that robotics were starting to be applied in hospitality. And as many of our viewers know, hospitality is a wonderful business, a lot of great emotion, but usually very slow to accept new technology and new ways of doing things. And it dawned on me, like, this is a perfect solution for the problems that are being faced in hospitality because you can't get the labor. So anyway, all that said is, a lot of time in hospitality, US, Asia, Caribbean, and came back during the COVID, and then began my robot journey. And I've been doing that for the past 2 years.
So I think one of the things that people maybe have wrong about robots is it's going to replace humans, and we're going to take the humans out of hospitality, and that's it. We're done.
Yes.
What would you say to that? Because one of the things that I've learned after kind of getting to know robotics a little bit is that's not necessarily the case.
No, it isn't. The key to this is blending automation, robotics, AI, and humans together. It's creating this hybrid workforce, if you will, to focus on the customer experience. So the idea of robots is not to come in and replace humans. Is to come in and to do work, quite honestly, that humans really don't want to do. Very few people are excited about being stewards, mopping the floor, vacuuming the floor, Some of these chores may be necessary for some folks, but it's hard to find anybody that likes to do that. And now the cost of that is getting very high. So the key here is automate the mundane, automate those things that don't impact the customer experience directly. You don't have to have your customers interacting with robots unless they want to. Some might want to, but let your humans do that. Let the robot deliver stuff. Let it run things back and forth to the kitchen. Let the robot take the dirty dishes to the kitchen. Let the robot vacuum the floor. None of those activities improve the customer experience. That way the staff is freed up. So anyway, the robots are doing work a lot of people don't want to do. And so they're filling jobs you couldn't fill anyway. And they provide a nice basis of support for existing employees. As you know, and I'm sure everybody watching knows, employees are very upset when they can't get the tools and support they need to do their job well. Most employees want to do a good job, and they get frustrated when either a coworker is undependable and the boss doesn't do anything about it, or they can't get right supplies at the right time. Well, what robots do is provide a minimum foundation of support to your staff to where they don't have to worry about it. Busboy or the busser calls in sick. Well, the robot can do it. Now your server's not so upset. Now they don't have to do double duty. So how robots are applied in conjunction with people is very important. You just don't. It's not like buying a new vacuum cleaner and then throwing it into housekeeping. It has to have a plan. It has to be managed, and the manager of the future is going to have to know how to manage this hybrid workforce. And this is just robotics. AI will be getting involved a little bit later on. Most of these robots are AI friendly. Oops. I just lost it here. Sorry about that. Most of the robots are AI friendly, but I'm taking directions from them directly.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So if we take the two as different, so guests and employees, in terms of like guests, the view of the guest, the way guests are interacting with us now. I did a keynote in San Antonio that talked all about how the modern guest is changing. Things like curation and convenience and that type of thing is becoming much more valued from a stay necessarily than that human interaction. You just said some bits off air about how like the modern guest actually embraces robots in some examples. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's an excellent point because not only are the business conditions changing now, cost structures and so forth, our customers are changing. They are not the same guys I used to serve when I was young.
Yeah.
Of course, you're familiar with the terms of millennials. Millennials now are not kids. They're all in their 40s and 50s. They have kids. So millennials are the customers, and then Gen Z is right behind them. Well, in surveys done for millennials and Gen Zs, they actually prefer to deal with technology rather than to deal with a human. Because that's how most people run their life today, right? You have your cell phone. I don't know if you shop on Amazon. I live in the mountains. I do all the time. I would rather, if you have to call anything, you're dealing with AI or you're doing it on your phone. Today's generation, the millennials, would prefer to deal with technology rather than human. So that's an important concept. Because in my day, we were taught never let technology come in contact with a customer. It's got to be human to human. That's what they wanted then. But today's customer likes technology. Not only do they like interacting with it, because that puts them in control, if you know what I mean. And it's cheaper for them sometimes. I mean, really basic. If a robot serves the food, you don't have to tip. Or if it delivers something to your hotel room, you don't have to tip. Now, it's not a big deal, but it's a little deal. And now today's customers are looking for anything that's going to give them a better experience at a lower cost. And so if a restaurateur can help shave some of that cost by using automation, they're probably going to be more successful than those that don't. So it's really about how the customer attitudes are changing. So they like technology, they prefer to use it. They surveys specifically about robots delivering room service in hotels. Customers prefer it, especially female travelers. They like it. Most people, especially me, and maybe you in the morning, you got to go off to a convention or something. You want to order some coffee in a Danish. And then I don't want to deal with a room service guy at that time of the morning. Hey, robot shows up, I'd be much happier. And this is the case. So you're going to find there are delivery robots that can do that. Room Runner is going to reinvent the whole room service process, which we can talk about later. We can
Yeah.
we'll automate all that. But that's the most important component is understanding how the customer feels about it. They like it. Wherever there's robots, people are Instagramming it. They're taking pictures. People with robots in their operation give the robots names. They wrap them in they can make it look like Santa
Yeah.
Claus, or you can make it look like any character. The kids follow this thing around, and people, of course, in our business, we're always looking for anything that will cause a guest to post a
Yeah.
positive thing on Instagram or some other TikTok, you name it.
Mm.
They love the robots for that.
Yeah, I think that's the bit, isn't it, that sometimes we ignore is that guest interaction or that guest experience that can come from something different, and I guess it's a mindset thing, isn't it, where as an industry we're slow to adopt even basic tech, let alone then taking it to the next level. And I often have conversations with hoteliers at kind of like the upper 4-star, 5-star level around QR codes in bedrooms sometimes. And I still feel like I have to convince people
Mm.
that putting a QR code for the room service ordering in a bedroom is something that they should do. And the way I'd say to them is it's about giving the guest choice. So if a guest wants to phone, make sure it still says dial X for room service. But if they want to use the QR code, allow them to do it. And I think how are you helping hoteliers to get over that mindset? Because I know it can be challenging for me sometimes on a QR code. So it must be difficult for people like yourself selling in a real change.
Well, yeah, I think the customers will help the hoteliers come around. So
Yeah.
here, look, I was just in a Viceroy hotel, beautiful hotel,
Mm.
and that's what I got
Yeah.
at check-in, QR code.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Hey, good. I don't
Yeah.
have to find it. I know. I
Yeah.
just scan this thing. It'll do everything.
Yeah.
And I think the folks that love technology will be happy for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes hoteliers were trained, as I was, that something like a QR code would be kind of crude. It's not very
Mm.
luxurious and insulting to the customers. Love it. Yeah,
Mm.
these are just prejudices on us operators because we've always been taught we should hide everything that has to do with back of house or operations from the customers. Should magically we should provide the service, which is still good. We want to do that, but the customers like the QR code. So
Yeah.
I think once hoteliers can see the benefits to their service and cost structure, then they're going to think QR code is a small price to pay.
Yeah. So I'd love to go through some use cases of how we can use robotics today or we can use automation today to help operations. Can you just take us through some of the different ways that is in operation in different hotels
Yeah,
and
certainly,
and
certainly.
things like that?
The robotics that are available in the market today have been out there for years, or when I say years, 5 years in technology, as I know,
Yeah.
is a long time. So
Yeah.
when I say years, I'm talking about 2 or 3, not like 20. The floor care robots are very common now. Floor scrubbers, floor vacuums. These devices can be scheduled to operate at certain times. They don't need human involvement. They return to their charger by themselves. I have scrubbers that connect to a workstation, and when they're done with their water cleaning, they empty it out into the drain, refill with clean, go back to work. No humans involved. The human only is there to clean it at the end of the shift or at the end of the week. They recharge themselves. So that's very simple. So floor care, everybody needs that, especially in hotels. It's great for ballrooms. It's great for guest room corridors. It's great for public space and so forth. So that's a big category. That's hospitality. Most other like big box stores, Home Depot, Walmart, these guys, they've been doing robots for floor care for years. So it's just getting to us late. So you
Mm.
got floor care. There's half a dozen different really good companies out there. Other prices are all the same. The floor care robots are going to run in the $30,000 and $40,000 range. We'll talk about that later. The best thing for restaurants right now are some delivery robots. I particularly like a robot company named Keenon, Keenon, and they produce probably, I think, the best delivery bots that are out there. They have robots that are for restaurants, and they have robots that can deliver to guest rooms by an elevator interface. And they have other delivery robots. You can use the delivery robots to deliver anything in the property. It could be used as a mail runner. It can run
Mm.
towels to the guest room. But let's talk about restaurants for a second. So the one of the Keenon products is designed just for restaurant service. So imagine, if you will, a small stack of maybe 4 or 5 shelves standing about 5 feet high, and at the base of that is the robot. And that robot basically is your food runner. It goes to the kitchen, picks up the food, brings it back to where it's supposed to go. The robot also is your busser. So you take a robot, load it with bus tubs, and when the bus tubs are finished, push a button, robot goes to where predetermined location, which is the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Dishwasher unloads, reloads with clean bus tubs, and the robot will time out and go back to its station after 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever you set. So if these robots are not expensive, these run around 18,000. This is all US, about
Yeah.
18,000. And when I'm throwing these numbers around, by the way, as an aside, 18,000 here is 40,000 there, people start to think, oh, that's a lot of money. But if you consider in the US now, the average server probably makes about $15 an hour. In California now, it's $20 an
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
plus benefits. So let's say it's $20 an hour times the full work week. You're talking 50,000 a year, right? 40,000 a
Mm.
year. So the robot pays for itself in the first year. The delivery robot pays
Mm.
for itself in the first 4 months. And then after that, it lasts 3 to 5 years. That's all savings. So
Yeah.
economically, it makes a whole lot of sense. The other good thing about the robot is it never calls in sick. It never complains. It never sneaks out the back door for a cigarette. It always does its job. It's there every day. Split shifts. Waiters hate split shifts, right? But sometimes you're stuck with them. Robots don't care. The robot works 12 hours and it's got to go to sleep for about 4 or 5 hours. In the meantime, it's recharging itself too. So it could serve breakfast and lunch. I mean, breakfast and dinner, who cares? Or lunch and dinner. So
Mm.
split shifts, no problem. And that would be a nice thing to take the pressure off some of the staff. So these are some obvious benefits. In casinos, hotels are using these same robots with the shelves to serve beverages on the casino floor.
Yeah.
Load them up with water or Cokes or soft drinks, whatever, and the robot will make a predetermined route. The robot can tell when it has nothing on the shelf and will go back and you get more. Same in the restaurant, back to restaurant service. If an order comes out, the robot can take it to the table or to the server. It's up to the operator. So naturally, if it's a higher end restaurant, the server is going to serve the food. Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's QSR or a middle road or an economy restaurant or something that's quick, got that quick serve going, some people in Asia, they love it. The robot delivers right to the table.
Mm.
The customer takes the plate off the shelf. And if the customer actually tries to take the plate off the wrong shelf, the robot will tell them, that's not yours. Yours is on tray number one. So it sounds fancy, but this is not
Yeah. Yeah.
someday. This is happening today. So
Yeah.
I think an effective use of robots gives you a foundation of service to where your staff isn't going to be panicked. The manager doesn't have to be panicked because these guys are always there and they can provide that function.
Yeah. What's really interesting is we obviously arranged to record this episode before Christmas, and I went back to the north to visit family over Christmas and New Year, and we were driving to my wife's mum's house, and in the local supermarket, like a Walmart, there was robots all parked outside. Never been there before, and it was all done through an app. So I was like, listen, I'm going to speak to this guy called Michael after Christmas. Let's
Oh,
get
sure.
one of these robots. So we went
Mhm.
on the app, and we got the selection of whatever £20 worth of stuff. We were about 1.5 miles away from the store. It probably had to cross 6 or 7 roads in terms of like to get to us, or go over like junctions, and we got the delivery in 45 minutes from ordering on the app.
Wow, that's
And
great.
yeah, delivered to the door, no minimum spend because, of course, like if you ordered through an Amazon Fresh or something like that, you've got to get the delivery guy to bring it to the
Right.
house and stuff like that. And it was just a really eye opener of how even 1.5 miles down the road, going over junctions where there'd be cars and traffic and things like that, these robots found a way to get your food to you safely. And what's really
Yeah.
funny is when my kids loved it. They went out. I've got a 5 and 7 year old. They went out to go get the shopping with my wife, and all of a sudden it started playing Christmas songs.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
As it was taking it out, it was playing Christmas songs. They loved it. Like
Yeah.
they were coming back and going, "Granny, Granny, can we order another? Can we order another?" So I think there is an opportunity where there's a real a potential to engage with your guests, even
No,
though
yeah.
it's a robot, but just in a very different way, isn't it?
That's correct. And the robots that are out there today have some basic messages they can give, like you said, Christmas
Yeah.
music. All of them are AI adaptable, but aren't being used yet. So
Yeah.
once you combine some AI to this, it could actually have a conversation with the customer. You may
Okay.
have seen some of this software. I was in an AI hotel AI conference not too long ago, where they were showing big TV screens where the AI character actually is a concierge, actually can free form
Mm.
speak with the customer. You can say, "Hey, where's the best bar to go to around here?" And it'll say, "Well, what kind of bar? What do you want to do?" It's amazing. So once that kind of technology is turned
Mm.
on for robots, they'll do it. And the robots I'm talking about now are machines that provide a certain function. They vacuum, they
Yeah.
deliver, whatever. They look like a robot, right?
Yeah.
Humanoid robots are coming along really quickly. The humanoids have been pretty expensive, but now the price is coming down. The ability is the same as any human. If you look on the internet for these videos of humanoids, like CES, the big consumer electronics show, is happening this week. There's a lot there. So
Mm.
these humanoid robots are stand as tall, 6 feet tall. They can pick up stuff, walk from here to there, and the prices you can find them anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000. And you know how technology is.
Mm.
Over time, the first plasma screen I bought,
Yeah.
42 inches plasma was $1,000. Now they give
Yeah.
them away, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing's happening in robotics. The prices are as technology expands, will come down. So yeah, these they're perfect for our business. There will be robots cleaning hotel rooms in a couple of years. I've seen prototypes.
Mm.
And with the humanoids, that can happen. And that's always the hardest job to recruit for in a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's the opportunity, isn't it, in a way. But hey, if I was I guess if I was a little cynical about like the operations, and I'm sure you've faced these questions before from operators, but like if I look at say um a room service robot going up to a room, server or chef puts the food in, off he goes out towards the lift. It's right in the middle of when all the housekeepers are taking the trolleys up to the rooms, and lifts are at a premium. And there's always the one when I worked on room service that like foot in the door was almost trained to you on the first day of if you don't get your foot in the door, the housekeepers will be off. How do robots deal with that situation where it's almost like that human override type thing can help with
Well,
efficiency?
it's going to defer to the humans. So if
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
crowded, it depends how you program it. Typically, when it gets into the elevator, it can call the elevator remotely. The door's
Yeah.
open, it gets in. It would go to a certain station, a place to wait in the
Yeah. Yeah.
elevator.
Yeah.
So you probably want to designate that. So hopefully the staff's not there. I would say in certain peak situations like that, let the robot use a guest elevator. I
Mm.
know we don't
Mm.
want room attendants using the guest elevator with their cart, but the robot's okay. The customers don't mind if the robot's with them. It
Mm.
looks cool. It's all covered with doors. It's not like it's an open
Yeah. Yeah.
tray. And so you can do both options. Some
Mm.
places opt to use the guest elevator instead of service elevators, specifically for the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think that it's something that each hotel has to consider what works best for them.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
guess
if
if
you're
you go
short
back
on
to
lifts, use the
yeah,
front of house.
100%. I mean, I guess if you go back to my story about the supermarket, if we hadn't have passed that supermarket and they hadn't been parked outside, they were in the loading bay, we would
Mhm.
never have ordered that order from the soup. We didn't need it. We ordered Coke, some water, and some crisps or something, right? So I guess if it goes in the guest lift and
Mhm.
kids get in or people see it, it's an
Yep,
upsell opportunity that can drive
100%.
intrigue and curiosity.
Well, don't we always say in hotel business, the elevator it's a captive audience. When you're
Yeah.
in there, you're going to read what's there because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So you can put some advertising in there or whatever. So if the robot's there, you could wrap it. It could look like something, and you could
Mm.
give it a basic vocabulary. It could say hello. It could say,
Yeah.
"How's your day?" or "Don't forget,"
Yeah.
whatever. So it can give some messages if the operator wants
Yeah.
to. So my recommendation would be, depending on how the operator feels about it, I think using front of house elevators makes more sense.
Yeah, it's actually a USP, isn't it? So I guess what can go wrong? What can go wrong with the robots that can throw a spanner in the works? Because I guess the
You know,
same thing of how
what's
it can save a person if something goes wrong. Like, how do you magic that person to then take over while you fix the issue?
Yeah, so most of there's two kinds of issues that will happen with the robot,
Yep.
just as it functions. Most of the issues are software related and can be handled online. So if
Okay.
there's a problem, the owner can get in touch with their maintenance provider and
Yep.
they can just go right in the robot and find out what's wrong. Matter of fact, it can be proactively managed, meaning these robots will everything they do is recorded within their software and
Okay.
that can be monitored remotely. So someone could be from even a remote area monitoring the robots, and when one goes down, they actually call the operator and say, "Hey, your robot's not being used. What happened?" Or "You're this bad thing." So a lot of the software things. Now the mechanical problems are basically from customer abuse or something. I've had
Okay.
problems where this funny story. A group of people staying in a casino hotel had the robot come and deliver something, and they couldn't figure out how to put in the code to open the door. So they took the robot into their room and held it hostage for some minutes. Now that's an extreme. But some of the problems there is somebody's ripped the door off,
Yep.
or somehow there's some sort of abuse. So they're not major repairs. And my recommendation there is have somebody in the property that knows how to fix these little things.
Mm.
If you go and buy a fancy oven or stove or vacuum or floor cleaner and it breaks, well, you just don't throw it away and say, "Oh, well, too bad it doesn't work anymore." Usually you have someone, at least in hotels, an engineer knows how to
Mm.
fix a vacuum cleaner. So the mechanics are pretty simple. All the robotics are contained in a very small area. They use a lot of optics and LIDAR the way it sees. But the problems that I've had reported are mostly due to abuse somehow that breaks some of the
Yep.
mechanical. The cool thing is that all these can be monitored and diagnosed remotely.
Mm.
So even if the robot's in London, I could be sitting here in New Mexico and find out what the issues are.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's it. So here's the bigger question is this, the bigger issue is this. Once the robot comes into the operation, the manager has to really be clever in how to use the robot. You just don't turn it on and expect it to go, "I'll do these things." You're going to have to figure out how to use it. Somebody in the operation is going to have to love the robot. And when something isn't right, be able to do some simple diagnostics
Mhm.
or simple fix. And that restaurateurs know how to do this pretty well and everything else. Something
Yeah.
breaks and
You fix it.
you're at dinner time, you better figure out how to
Yeah.
make it work for now. And they're not complicated. We can provide online training for a maintenance person so they know all the basics. And then if they need some support, they make a call and somebody can get online and help them get it back online. So all that said, it's probably not a bad idea for a bigger operation to have maybe one more robot than what they think they need. In
Mm.
case one goes down, you got a spare.
Mm.
The cost now, I'm thinking mostly about the delivery robots. And the cost there is not bad. It's 18 to 20,000 US.
Mm.
So if you bought two, that's still less than one full-time employee.
Yeah, yeah. And back to your point about them phoning in sick and going
Yeah.
out for cigarette breaks and all the rest of it, it's probably no different to the amount of sick days, probably better than the amount of sick days that you would have in a year anyway, right? So
Oh yeah, a whole lot
it's
better.
done it.
They don't quit. They don't learn the job and 6 months later go across the street for more money.
Yeah.
They
No,
always say, and they
the
never
lifers,
complain.
the
They
lifers.
never complain. You can yell at it all day long, and it'll never complain.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a real opportunity in meeting and events, isn't there, as well? And it's funny how you use the example of casinos embracing it over hotels who some maybe embrace, but people probably in the main want to adopt. Why do you think casinos look at things differently? Because they have all the bedrooms upstairs. It's similar operations. They just have this little extra bit on the side. Why are they embracing things differently to maybe hotels? I'd love to know what the mindset difference is.
Casinos typically have a much better cash flow situation than restaurants and
Okay.
hotels.
Yep. Fair.
They
Yeah.
got a lot more money to invest. And with casinos, it's investing it wisely and quickly to lead the market. So think about a casino. I'm talking about US casinos now that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
pretty big. So they may be 100,000 square feet of space.
Yep.
Probably almost all of that space is what? Slot machines.
Mm,
Their customers are already engaged with technology. Their
mm.
customers are on the slot machine. They're already into it. The customer had to put a card into the machine. Actually, now a lot of the slot machines are becoming wireless and cardless. So you, with your cell phone, you walk up. If you join the Players Club,
Yep.
your cell phone, you walk up to a machine and you sign in, and you can transfer cash into the machine and play. And when you're done, it'll transfer it back to your phone and off you go. If you want something to drink, you can order through that app and that will send a signal to the bartender and they'll bring a drink. Or it could send a signal to a robot who could bring
Mm.
the drink. So casinos use them because customers are happy to deal with the machine. They
Okay.
like it because it's fast and quick. The key thing in gaming is real simple. It's called time on device.
Mm.
You want to keep the customer playing as long as they can play.
Yeah.
So if they don't have to go somewhere to eat, then they keep playing. If
Yeah.
they don't have to go somewhere to fill up their, get a bottle of water, they're playing. So if you figure if somebody spends 5 minutes going to get a soda or 10 minutes, that's $100 the casino lost that they could have won by playing, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the casinos think about it is, how each minute of gaming is worth this much.
A
So
lot of
how do
money.
I keep my customer gaming and what's the best way to do it? They don't care. Even the server that comes by in a casino, most customers couldn't tell you what they look like,
Yeah.
because they're focused on their game. Here comes the thing. Now, in the hotel itself, casinos are more willing to take on technology because they have the capital dollars to do it,
Mm.
and they can try some stuff, and they're always trying to do something new that's going to improve the customer experience and help control their costs. So I think
Yeah.
that's why they do.
Yeah, I think if I take some of the big hotels that I've stayed in Las Vegas, certainly the Venetian, we stayed there for our honeymoon, and having a
Oh, yeah,
robot that would tell us how to get from our room to the lift would have
that's
been
right.
fantastic because those the way they all section off those corridors used to get us every single time to get from our
Yeah,
room
it's
to the
tough.
lift.
I was actually the senior vice president of operations for Venetian
Okay,
at opening. So
yeah,
I wasn't there for the
amazing.
Palazzo part, but you're right. It's massive.
Yeah.
And by the way, I haven't even mentioned it. There's other robots too that are just like direction or givers or escorts.
Mm.
You can walk up to them and say, one brand I'm thinking of is named Temmie. Say, hey, Temmie, where's the restaurant or where's the restroom? It will say right this way, and it will
Yeah.
go off, and you follow it to the restroom. That's pretty
Mm.
cool.
Mm.
And I mean, these are very affordable robots as well. It could be a hostess in a restaurant. It could because you can come in. You can say what your name is, and it'll assign the table and take you to the table.
Mm.
You could use a paper menu, or you could have it. I would recommend doing a online mobile ordering system to
Mm.
where your customers can. I like the menus because you can drill down and get more information, right?
Yeah.
So you can when you're looking at it on the phone, not only can you see what it is, but you want to drill down and see the ingredients, you can.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's the way lots of restaurants are going to go, where people not just get the menu, but order off the app and that
Mm.
they pay off the app as well. No cashier required. That's a pretty
Yeah.
good thing. Or at
Yeah.
least the server then doesn't have to run back and forth closing out the check. It can
Yeah,
just
for
happen
sure.
on the device.
Yeah, we're seeing that in the UK quite a bit already. Is the pay at table function, especially in the busier restaurants, is really helping to like increase turn times because people are just leaving quicker because there's not that wait. So there's a
Yeah.
QR code on the table. When you're ready, scan it, pay, off you go, and it's just increasing turn times. And I think
Perfect.
in meeting and events, I think about that a lot. I run big event operations. The amount of hours that we used to spend vacuuming convention hall floors. I even think about things on drinks receptions and, cleaning up on buffets and things like that. There's huge opportunities there, I think, where meetings and events, interesting. I was speaking, we did an F&B report, and it was saying that now meetings are becoming smaller, and therefore the bigger ones are less frequent. So the big cash cows are more of a challenge now than before. The problem
Mhm.
with more smaller events is that they're more labor intensive. So
Mhm.
again, what's been coming to my mind as you've been talking, and that's why I asked the casino question, was some of those functional orders where you have a function of, I'm in my meeting room and I want to order 5 Cokes for the delegates. That
Absolutely.
no longer necessarily needs that service, because it's about
Sure.
speed, it's about efficiency, and it's about delivery.
Yeah.
Um, so I
This would
think
be
that,
perfect for small meetings, as you say.
yeah.
Office buildings are doing this now. So
Mm.
office buildings where they have a meeting zone may have a
Yep.
central refreshment area like a pantry,
Yep.
but the robot brings it and you can just order online. There's vending machines where you can order online. The robot can go to the vending machine. The vending machine will load
Mm.
the robot and bring it to the room. So that's
Yep.
good for small meetings. In a hotel convention environment, here's great uses are like this. Reception. If you have butlered hors d'oeuvres or passed hors d'oeuvres during a
Hmm.
reception, I have a human. They just
Mm.
walk around with their hands like, with a tray. Here's the
Mm.
new, here's the old. The robot can do it. They got 4 shelves. Put the items on the
Mm.
robot. Let it wander through the reception. People will grab stuff. Let it wander through. People will put their dirty glasses there and will
Mm.
take it away. So I think robots are perfect for these pre-event receptions. They're also great for, think about, you got 200 people for dinner. You've seen the big dish ups, and you got the whole
Yeah,
row
yeah,
of
yeah.
waiters, and everybody's loading the trays, and they all march out. Oh, why not just put them on a robot? Robot can carry four, depends how big the plate is, but let's say minimum 4 orders. So typically you got a table that's got 8 seats, maybe 10, I don't know. But the robot can bring it to the table so where the server in the zone can just dish it out, right?
Yeah.
And so the robot, I wouldn't recommend having the customer take it off, but at least so you got one server that's got
Mm.
maybe 4 tables instead of two, and you don't need as many captains. Let the servers do the robots do the running. Then put some robots on the edge of the room. Because right now, when the servers bus a table during an event, they take it over to the bus
Mm.
drop and plop it in. Whoop, put it on the robot, let it take it back.
Yeah.
So there'll
Cleaner.
be savings there, payroll. It will help the timing of the delivery. And I think it's a beautiful place to use them
Yeah, I
in
think it's
events like that.
I think it's really interesting. I think this what springs to my mind as you're talking a lot through when we've been on the recording is, you started the show by talking about this like hybrid way of working between the human side of what we do, and then where the robots can support the our teams,
Mhm.
essentially giving better experience. And every example that you've given has kind of explained how that works really, really well. And I think that was the perfect example of how this like hybrid way of working can really have a place. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe the lower end of the scale might adopt it quicker, and the luxury guys might try and hold off for a bit. But
I
there's
agree.
opportunity,
But
isn't there?
yeah, anybody who has a big convention facility would love
Mm.
it. Because what are you doing? You're helping the customer experience. Hooray.
Mm.
Your employees love you because you're cutting down on the amount of work they have to do.
Yeah,
And you're doing it at a lower cost. So your
yeah,
boss is going to love it too.
yeah,
So why not
yeah,
try? And
yeah,
it's not that expensive to get into it.
yeah.
I think it's perfect when it's well developed in a conference hotel. I mean, the key to
Definitely.
all this is these are great ideas and they work, but somebody on property has to also catch that vision and
Mm.
really love it and really work with it. And when the manager does that to the point of hybrid, that's what managing the future is going to look like. I
Yeah,
think I might have mentioned, well, not during the recording, the whole industry is going through a huge change right now. Just like I'm old enough, you're not, I'm old enough to where there was no PCs when I
yeah.
first was running a big hotel.
Mm.
We didn't have computers. And I remember my food and beverage guy, this is 1988. My food and beverage guy brought in a PC, plopped it on his desk. Nobody had personal computers that worked then. I told him to get rid of it. Being a good hotelier, what are you supposed to do as an F&B guy? Management by walking around.
Yeah.
So I said, you put this computer in your office, you're just going to sit here all day and play on your computer, which of course he did.
Yeah.
But we all did. Within a year, we all had one. But that was a huge change in the way we did business. And then the internet was a huge change in the way we did business in the late 90s, right? In the early 2000s. We are now going through a huge change in the way we do business now because of automation and the use of technology. And the automation that's available is pretty good stuff. Do you mind if I describe a little bit about how the technology works in these
No, no,
robots?
100%. No, no, go for it. I
Okay.
think it'd be really interesting.
So the way the robots see is they use a technology called LIDAR. LIDAR is like a fancy radar.
Hmm.
They use LIDAR a lot of times to look for archaeological sites under jungle umbrellas and things
Yeah.
like this. So today you run into LIDAR in a lot of different shows you might watch and so forth. So the LIDAR allows the robot to see some of them up to 150 yards. And it's got the full 3D view. So it knows where it's going, can see where it is, it can see obstacles, it can make decisions about how to get around this obstacle. It can tell if you move the table, it's over here now, so it knows how to adjust. If a customer comes in front of it, it's going to see it, it's going to stop, it's going to go around. So it uses LIDAR and it uses a lot of optics. So there's half a dozen cameras or more all around, not to take pictures of customers or anything like that, just so the robot can see where it is and
Hmm.
where it's going. And that's really mechanically, that's all the robotics. The rest of it's all software.
Hmm.
So this technology was first developed to create self-driving cars
Okay.
decades ago.
Yeah.
So they did. So now what? What do I do with this? What else? How else can I use this technology? And which is how I was stepping down, going from self-driving cars to a vacuum cleaner. And it's very reliable, very solid stuff. So the tech is good. It's not experimental at all. It's all about the how the operator integrates it into their operation, as you pointed out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. So, before we finish, I just really love to talk about the new project that you're working on, because we went through it off air, and I think a huge opportunity for hotels. I think I talked about the retail guys that we've worked with on a couple of projects, Wondermart, who are doing that kind of peopleless retail element. But
Mhm.
talk to us more about Room Runner, because I think this is a work in progress that has huge potential.
Sure. So as I started the robot business and talking to hoteliers, um, I found and got familiar with business. I saw a way that we could automate the entire room service process. Now, as you know, room service is very expensive, generates very little revenue, and most people lose money. Maybe somebody makes some, but not much. But it's always been considered, in my experience, as a necessary evil. And it has to be part of our hotel amenity package. We got to do it. We don't like doing it, but we got to do it. And so room service always punishes the customer by charging outrageous prices and delivery fees and all this kind of stuff, which turns out to be a vicious circle because the customer doesn't want to pay that price, so they don't order room service, so the costs go up, so they raise the price, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
During COVID, lots of hotels just stopped the room service altogether.
Mm.
The excuse was it has to be contactless, and couldn't a human has to bring it, so that's a contact, that's bad. And I think the hoteliers were happy for that excuse because they didn't want to do it anyway. So a lot of hotels weren't doing room service, and we've come up with a way to automate the process from ordering to delivery. And real simply, all the orders guests when they check in will be given a QR code at check-in, and there'll be other materials in the room. They scan the QR code, menu comes up, they do all their selection, order and pay on the app. That sends a signal to a small distribution center. Imagine a mini Amazon warehouse in your
Yeah.
back of house. This is
Yeah.
a back of house function. I don't need front of house space. So there's a room with inventory with robots in it that will receive the signal, will pick the order, and we'll load it into a delivery robot, and the delivery robot will take it to the guest room. Everything is packaged. It's like a DoorDash. It's all one way. There's no reusable china, glass, silver. It's all packaged in nice, disposable, sustainable packaging. But the guest can receive it, eat like they would at home, like a DoorDash, throw the stuff away, finished. Now imagine the problems that solves for housekeeping as well. There's no trays in the hallways. There's no tables in the room. Room service waiters never come and pick up the trays, even though all the hotels say they will. They hate it because why? No tip. So and they'll just sit in the floor. So now you don't have that anymore. So, and because it's all handled automated, no gratuities are involved. So all of a sudden now the price of a room service meal is going to be quite affordable. A lot of the things we're selling will be consumer packaged goods and drinks, and we can do comfort foods. We can also do some hot foods as well. Our business model is that we operate this as a third party. We'll set it all up. We'll put in we'll make all the investment. We operate it. We make money on what we sell, and we pay the hotel operator percentage revenue share at the end of the month. So then a hotel with no room service today will have 24-hour room service with up to 150 different items to select from. This also replaces mini bars. So let's say a mini bar, you have what, 10, 12 things to pick from? In our operation, we can carry about up to 150 different items. So imagine the selection. So it's good for eating and drinking, that's good, but it's also good for merchandise. It's also good for retail items. It's also good for over-the-counter drugs. It's like a convenience store that delivers at any time of day. And because there's no humans involved, we can operate it with good pricing. So we're building our proof of concept now, and we should be done with our testing towards the middle of this year. And then we'll be looking for hotel companies to partner with and making this happen. And it's been very well received, and I think customers will love it. I think operators will like it. It's a win for everybody.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think there's huge potential there. And I think with some of these people, this convenience stores down in, or retail stores down in hotel lobbies, when I've been staying at some of the properties, and they're in a lot of the Hiltons, it's just easier to go down and get your own bottle of water, do it on the self-scan and take it up to the room than it is room service or going out to the supermarket. It's like the obvious choice. It's also the other bit where you were saying about like over-counter drugs, or you've forgotten your toothbrush or your toothpaste, and no longer now are you panicking around or plug sockets for the travels and things, right? It's just there, available, and it's back to this whole thing we talked around about kind of convenience, and the way people can curate the stays now actually becomes more value. So if I turn up to a hotel, I have a conference in the morning, I forget my charger, and I can get one easily on an app, I'm going to think much more of that hotel experience than if I'm having to scramble to try and find an Apple store or something in the city.
Absolutely. And we can sell merchandise. Let's say it's a special event. You're there for the Formula One race and you want a T-shirt. Why not? I can sell that too. Bring it to the room. Or you want to buy a gift for the kids, that commemorates, some branded thing from the hotel or the area. So it can be retail. It can be anything. So I think that's the way to think about it. It's a convenience store that can deliver. And we'll do it kind of Uber-ish, meaning once you order, I'm going to tell you, okay, Scott, we got the order. Here's what you ordered. We'll be there in 13 minutes or whatever. They'll make some time estimate. And when the robot departs for your room, it'll send you another message. I'm on the way. So then, okay, how many times have you sat around waiting for your room service waiter at 6:30 in the morning thinking, should I take a shower before he comes or wait till he comes? And if you wait, he's always late. And if you take a shower right away, he always comes early, right? Isn't that how it always works?
Yeah.
So now you're going to know exactly where you are in the process. You don't have to mysteriously hope it shows up soon. So I think these kind of conveniences will certainly add to the customer experience. They'll like the product. They like the selection. We're tailoring our menu by location and by age group. I think we've mentioned it, is the customer is changing a lot. Millennial tastes are lots different than me. I'm from the old school where we eat hamburgers and big steaks and high cholesterol and all these things that are bad for you. The current generation is very health conscious. If you look what's going on in beverage, functional beverages are huge these days. Of course, water is huge, but even within water, you got hydrogen water, you got all these different kind of waters. Liquid Death. Have you heard of
Mm.
Liquid Death? You know
Yeah,
that brand?
yeah, I know it. Yeah,
$1.9 billion value
yeah, yeah.
for carbonated water. Like, holy smokes. So the millennial, we're looking at the millennial likes. They like gourmet foods. They like comfort food, but it has to be special. Like instead of just a container of Pringles, they'll probably like grandma blah blah's kettle
Yeah,
cooked handmade things, and they'll pay double for it, just
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the habit. So functional foods are big. And the good news is they're mostly packaged, consumer packaged goods,
Mm.
which is good for me because
Yeah,
I can store it and pack it. I can sell also. What I really hate about mini bars is the portions are so small. You pay
yeah.
$15 for some jelly beans in a small little bitty jar like this, and
Yeah.
you feel, boy, they really ripped me off. So now I can sell bigger sizes that you might get in a grocery store. Why
Mm.
not? I mean, and they'll like the price. Why not sell more than you need for satisfy one little craving? Maybe you get a bag of cookies I could use twice.
Mm.
I can eat some now and eat some later. So we can do bigger sizes. We can search for the right products. We can feature local foods are always quite popular.
Mm.
People today in the millennial generation are looking, and Gen Z are looking for uniqueness. Authenticity is the key
Mm.
thing you hear from these folks when they're traveling.
Mm.
So if they're going to come to London and they've never been there before, they want to experience something that's very Londonish, whatever that is.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And giving them something, or maybe it's a district in London or something that I could only get here.
Mm.
And those will carry those kind of things as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really think there's lots of legs. Mike, honestly, I was very curious about robots before, and I think after listening to what you've been saying about it, I see where the function is now in operations, and I think it's quite exciting that we can help a lot of people solve problems in operations right now that can do it. If you had one parting shot to people who are listening to this about embracing the next era in terms of adoption in hotels, kind of what would the message be?
I think the message is try it.
Yeah.
It's worth a shot. We know the world is changing. I can tell you all the major hospitality schools in the US are all focused on they're teaching robots to
Okay.
their grads or to the students. They're going to be GM someday. So they're
Yeah.
already getting ready for it. So first thing is change some attitudes about how can I use this technology to help me get this work done. I think restaurateurs in particular, hoteliers also always assume work has to be done by a human.
Yeah.
And if I can figure out how to offload that to technology, is going to help everybody. So you do a bit of a mindset, but don't wait. This is my message is jump in, try
Yeah. Yeah.
one. You can get demos of these. Most distributors will come and leave you one for a week or two to use. Investigate it. It's the way it's going to be in the future. And so the smart ladies and gentlemen that are going to be in this business for a while should learn it now because they're going to be the leaders in the future that know how to apply it. There's plenty of technology available. They should check it out. Check it out on YouTube, the videos, check it out online. I would, if I can use a manufacturer name, I would direct people in restaurants and hotels to look at Keenon, Keenon. That's a robotics manufacturer out of China. Most all of them are from China, by
Mm.
the way. And they've been doing it for a while. Keenon, I believe, is the best of the brands for delivery robots. It's like the Mercedes of robots. And you can get a feel for their product mix. They've got a lot more than what I was telling about,
Mm.
and you can see their videos. So I would say, try it. There's distributors around the world that handle multiple labels. I've worked with lots of distributors in the U.S., so it's easy to reach out through any of these guys when you search it online and ask them questions. Most of the distributors are more than happy to set up a proof of concept.
Mm.
Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're free, depends where the location is. So that's my recommendation: is jump in, don't wait. It's like I guess learning to swim. A lot of people think a good way to swim is just throw them in the pool and they'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
same thing with this. It's early days. It has all this potential, but those that are clever enough to try it now and know how to use it are going to be the winners in the future.
Yeah, the ones that are going to benefit. I really love that. And if someone's here, and I'm going to put the show note in the show notes, the contact and the companies that you said as well. But if people want to learn more and might want a bit of help and advice, what's the best way for people to get hold of you and ask for some help?
I'm certainly happy. Anybody can contact me through LinkedIn. I'm there.
Yep.
Or if you look for Room Runner, that's my company name, all one word, ROOMRUNNER. We have it's a preliminary website, but still you can go there and send emails, and I would be thrilled to respond to anybody that has questions. I can help lead people to the right distributors. I can help give people some counseling on what kind of robot might be appropriate for their place. And I'm happy to talk about how these things, the cost and how much it costs to operate and how they can be financed and so forth, because it usually always boils down to, okay, that's a great idea. Can I afford this thing? And there's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. Listen, Michael, I was really looking forward to this chat, and I've learned so much, and I'm definitely curious about it now. So thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. We might think about doing somewhere we just look at a particular robot and talk about how it might work in a restaurant. That'd be great. Well, thank you for inviting. I really appreciate the time. To all those that are watching, thank you for watching and listening. And let's I hope we can work together and start moving automation into hospitality and take hospitality to the next level where it's headed for the future.
You've been listening to Hospitality Huddles, brought to you by Auden Hospitality. If you want to see how we can help you think differently for your next F&B project, then learn more by visiting our website at audenhospitality.com. If you want to revisit clips from this or previous episodes, make sure you visit our YouTube channel at Auden Hospitality. Thank you for listening to the show, and see you next time.